Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another broadcast of The Weekly with me, Neff. Please subscribe to the channel and share this video with a couple of friends and colleagues. Helps me out a lot, and I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscriptions. Every subscription helps out with that goal. Now, let's talk a little bit about Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Just got done watching that film today at my local theater. Thought the film was pretty good. Strong point cinematography, the tone was good, and the editing was spectacular. This is definitely a visual spectacle, ladies and gentlemen. The film does run a bit long, 2 hours and 50 minutes. If you factor in all the trailers we get nowadays in modern cinema, that's about 3 hours and 10 to 15 minutes in theater, so get very comfortable. Bring your blanket with you. There was a lot of good things that I did like about this film. Just talked about some of those now, on top of what I said about the cinematography and just the way that the film is shot. I thought the pacing was okay for a film that is 2 hours and 50 minutes long, although I do think this film would have benefited from dropping 30 minutes off of it. I will say, if we're talking about a couple details, not trying to give away any spoilers here in this review, I'm going to keep it clean. The film is very dialogue heavy. This might be the most dialogue heavy Mission Impossible film that I have seen to date. But even with that dialogue, it is important dialogue amongst many different characters. All of the acting was pretty solid overall. If I had to rate the acting just on, the purity of being an actor and chemistry amongst all of the characters, I'd probably give it about an 8.5 or 9. With the emphasis on acting being accounted for, I think it made the film believable from that standpoint. As far as immersion, not so much immersive. I didn't feel like I was in the world of Mission Impossible. It felt like I was watching a movie, just a very high quality movie. I have to say my favorite scene of the movie is the submarine or the submersible scene where Tom Cruise is underwater. That whole sequence, which I want to say lasts between, 15 to 20 minutes, is, in my opinion, the best shot scenes of the film. And there's a scene towards the end that I think matches its quality, but that scene was shot so well underwater, and there was almost something sci-fi about it, but very good cinematography there and very good direction and acting. To me, very impressive scene, and I think it stands up as one of the more impressive scenes in this franchise, to be honest. And I'd say my second favorite scene is the scene that you've seen in a lot of the trailers where Tom Cruise is between the two planes in midair trying to get to the bad guy Gabriel there. He's the antagonist of the film still. So his character does carry over from part one, which is basically Dead Reckoning, and this is the end of that with Final Reckoning. So his character is still there, obviously, and the entity is still a big part of the plot. You could really say the entity is the main antagonist. This is basically an AI that's sentient, and then you have Gabriel, who's trying to gain control of this AI to basically just dominate the world. And so, yeah, I think those are my two favorite and standout scenes of the film. Good intensity there. Also, I think the element of time being used in this film is something that is a lot better than what was done in the seventh film. There are more than a few situations where Ethan Hunt's character is put against the wall and against time, and multiple characters, to be honest, which adds intensity to the film, which is something that makes this film better overall than I think the seventh film is. The seventh film did have elements of this, but with it being the first part, I thought the stakes were not as high. That's one thing I didn't like too much about the first one, was the focus on the entity. But with this second part concluding everything with the entity to this point, and I'll repeat that I feel like the stakes are a lot higher in this film. We do have the implementation of some OG characters and implementation of flashback scenes. The rabbit's foot is brought up. That's from Mission Impossible 3, which I just talked about on my docu-series. And then you have some OG characters coming back even from Mission Impossible 1, and an addition of a couple new characters in this film. And I think it's blended well, and it's well balanced with the rest of the characters in this film. One thing I did notice, everybody that's used to the typical IMF agent crew that Tom Cruise has, this is a little different, more of a ragtag team. These are people that he's familiar with, but they don't have quite the organization that they had before. Haley Atwell is there. She's supporting. Obviously, Simon Pegg is back as Benji. You have Ving Rhames as Luther. And Angela Bassett is now the president of the United States. Definitely have to praise Angela Bassett once again on her acting as well. One of the better actors in Hollywood. And she turns in an important and solid performance. Everybody that supported Tom Cruise in this film was on their A game, I do have to admit. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning does not have a lot of weak points other than, like I said, Some of the dialogue could be cut down a little bit. And I just feel like overall, if you would have took 20 to 30 minutes off this film, it would have been a more impactful film. Also, there's something at the end that I felt would have made this more impactful when you're talking about the future of the franchise. So with that, I give Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning an 81 out of 100, at 8.1 to be specific on the grade scale. I definitely recommend this film, and I would say watch it on the biggest screen that you can get to in your local area. If there's an IMAX, go watch it in IMAX. That would be awesome. The screen I was watching, it was at my local Harkins, and it's a Cine XL, so it's the biggest screen that they have here, and I was satisfied with the experience. And not a spoiler, but I will let everybody know in this review, they definitely leave it open for a continuation of Mission Impossible. So if anybody had any strange thoughts on what's going to happen with Ethan Hunt or Tom Cruise, I can assure you that there's nothing to be worried about there. That's one of the reasons why I kind of docketed some points down. But I think if they did make this a send-off for him, and you could see it as a send-off, him retiring or anything else like that, I think it would be a great send-off and a good way to pass it on to someone else that's probably in this team of people that is left. Now, as we know, this film does have a budget of $400 million. Very expensive film, and there is steep competition with Lilo and Stitch right now. Looked at some seating charts, and Lilo and Stitch, as you guessed it, is packed. Mission Impossible, my showing was not that bad, to be honest. The theater, I'd say, was at least 50 to 60% full, so a decent showing, but it was later in the night. So just interesting how Paramount and Disney scheduled out their theater rentals. Lilo and Stitch really had everything in the morning and the afternoon, and Mission Impossible had a lot of the later showings. So kind of tough when you have a film that runs almost 3 hours long, starting at about 10 p.m. at night. But overall, people did come out to watch this film. Memorial Day weekend, you got the 3-day weekend. It's not done making money. I think right now they got the box office take at $30 to $40 million. So a long way to go for this film, but like I said, I definitely recommend this film. I cannot wait to talk about this film in my docu-series, The Evolution of Mission Impossible. And as I said, an 8.1 out of 10. Quality film. Go watch it if you can. A very well shot film, and I cannot forget the score is great as well. Ladies and gents, please subscribe to the channel. Share this video with a couple of friends and colleagues. Let them know to subscribe as well. Comment down below if you watched Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, and let me know what you thought about the film. Also, let me know what you think about this film in comparison to other Mission Impossible films. I want to hear everybody's thoughts on that. Like this video and ring the bell for notifications. Be safe. It's Neff signing off.